to talk about the current market, what's hot, what's new, etc. And I hope that also to give you a very simple method to analyze the market. And this would be until about 8:30. Okay, and what this time around, what I did is to combine our existing hand holding session starting from 8:30 until 9. That means that I have another trainer, Pauline, who will be joining us at 8:30, and she would be doing the our hand holding session together with me. So this is the first time we are trying this format because we are doing quite a lot of hand holding sessions every week. Our total session, it's about seven sessions in a week, right? And we thought that, why not we just spread our love so that we can do our sessions and then to sort of like let you know what's happening in the market, etc. So we decided to try this new format. So about 8:30, Pauline will join me and then we'll be taking a look at the market together. Okay. Yeah, some of you are eating. I had a very quick and short dinner because I usually don't eat before my session, but then now it's a little bit different. I feel a little bit hungry. So, yeah, so let's get started. So, if you do have questions, please let me know via the chat. This is the main method that I'm, sharing with you. And then, of course, later on, there will be dues, which is my course, right? So if you're interested to take the course, then please join us because my course comes with a 100% cashback. That means that, let's say, if you pay $1,500 for the course, then you do get the $1,500 cash back into your pocket, which is a very good deal. Essentially, you don't really pay anything for the course. And then, if you look at the comprehensive programs that we're offering, then it's a very good deal. But let me just move on from here. Okay, so in case that you don't know me, this is me. I don't really change much from this photo. The reason why I'm not showing is because I think that the stream rate is a little bit slow. So that's why I decided not to show myself. But anyway, this is me. All right. So I do a lot of instruments, FX, stocks, indices, and I'm a 4-hour trader for the FX and indices. I do also Bitcoin. I do also options. Basically, a lot of products, and this is what we discuss most of the time. So if you do have questions on all these instruments that I'm trading, do let me know. You can just pose your question here, right? And try to ask as many questions as you can. I have another one more session, which is on the 22nd of May. That is to look at how to spot the market bottom again, all right? But let me just talk about the current market here, right? So before this, right, you find that there's a little bit of a change in my, because I've been training for about close to 20 years already. I've been trading really like maybe 30 years already. So yeah, I'm actually not that old though, but then yes, I started very, very early in my investment and trading career. So that's why I have like maybe like 30 years of experience in trading. Yeah. So right now I'm into another stage of my life, and as I told all my students, I want to leave a legacy. Okay, really, that I hope that by the time that probably I'm not around, then you remember that there's someone who ever talked to you on Tor, which is the Alien Washed, and then whoever share some of the thoughts about trades, etc. And I love automations, all right? So I started automations about 10 plus years ago, and I built my own system, all right? Whether they are fully automated or partially automated. I have my preference. So today I'm just going to share with you, okay, a little bit about what I'm using as well, all right? Okay, so this is today I'll be using mostly on tech. Tech is the uh, method that I'm using, all right, to sort of analyze the instruments. Okay, some of this you might not be able to understand. Okay, I try to do my best to explain to you, but basically, they are just value proposition points, which means that we are trading into any form of trend, whether they are day trend, week trend, or maybe 1 hourly or 15 minutes. The whole idea is we want to follow the trend at a point of time and then trade between the space. Okay, so we do any instruments, whether it's US stocks, Singapore stocks, Hong Kong stocks, FX, gold, oil, etc. So these are what we do. All right. Okay, so let's talk about these three instruments here. Okay, I'm waiting for your questions to come in because basically the session is about asking me anything and then I want to talk about what's hot here, right? Okay, so I'm choosing a little bit of these three to show you, including a little bit of an educational component. Okay, so that's what I like to do, right? So that meanwhile, if you do have questions, you let me know. Okay, so first, I always like to do is I always would like to go to my live charts. So this is my live here. And the first thing, as I said, is BABA. Okay. So you could do BABA in Hong Kong market or you could do BABA in the US market. Okay. Now the reason why I am bringing up BABA is because we have the trade war, right? The tariffs between the US and China, right? And before this, Baba was really, just let me show you the bigger picture here. Now, before this, Baba was in the region of around $300, okay? And it went all the way down, all right, to low of 55. And recently, it's sort of like, was in the limelight because of AI, because of DeepSeek. Baba came out with Kun. Right now, I still doesn't know how to pronounce the name, but it came out with its own AI, and it's known to be like AI player, not like shopping related online shopping, but more like online, more like AI player already. Okay, so I started to talk about Baba and to be paying attention to Baba when it was around here. Okay, all right. There's a reason. I explained the reason why, okay, and hopefully to share with you what I'm looking at. And then the price moved up near to this level here. Okay, and of course it came down. And then what are we looking at generally for most of the Hong Kong market? Okay, now have you heard of this pattern which is called cup and handle pattern? So this is like a cup here, and then this is a handle. So in a way that this is your basing pattern. Okay. So usually after a cup and handle pattern, it means that if price can break out, that means can break higher, usually the movement will be quite substantial. Okay. I'm using Baba as an example here to let you know that a lot of Chinese stocks, okay, China stocks listed in Hong Kong, a lot of China tech stocks, all right, a lot of them is showing the cup and a bit of a handle pattern here. Okay, so this was the cup and the handle, right? So this is the cup and then this is the handle. Now, essentially, a cup and handle means that it's an extended basing method, based, B-A-S-E. They are building a base. All right, so for Baba, this base has been built from 2022 all the way until late 2024, early 2025. So it's about a 3-year base. Okay, now by right that the cup and handle should be used as a continuation pattern. That means to continue a price movement, but you could see this like a base of this duration here. Now, so a lot of time when we confirm the cup and handle pattern, it's where we take a breakout stand. That means that price breakout of this base. Okay, so you might want to interpret this base as a little bit like, I don't know, but it does looks like a triple bottom, whatever you want to call it, right? And the reason, tariffs, all right, resulted in price dropping below, all right, towards the breakout point. Okay, so this is your breakout point, and then price actually moves back towards that breakout point here. Okay, so the first thing, I think I won't say that what's hot, but the first thing is I think that we should also be looking into the Chinese market, into fundamentally strong stocks. Okay, because a lot of them are showing the basing pattern. So in fact, that if you take a look a little bit into the earnings of a lot of Chinese stocks, they are showing recovery. Okay, so it's good to know and to follow very much the news coming up from the tariff to know whether the Chinese stocks are very well absorbed. That means every time when it drop, right, it's that drop very well absorbed by the market, or it's making new low. Okay, so to illustrate from Baba point of view here, you find that if you study trend, right? So for example, we look at trend, and usually what I like to do is that for trend, when price is making a higher high, of course, this is a weekly chart, so it's a little bit more on a longer term analysis, right? If price is making a higher high, and then if price is also making from this low point here to a higher low, so we say that in this section here, price is making an uptrend. So even when it comes back down here towards this low point, and that's where prices in general for the Chinese stocks, they were hit by that tariff news, right? So even if we see that price move down to here, it's still making a higher low. Okay, it's higher than the previous low. Okay, can you understand this concept here? If you can, just give me like a response by typing for those in YouTube, right, by giving a little bit more of a love. Okay, that means in that YouTube streaming, just give it a bit of a love so that a lot more others can watch this. Live streaming. Okay. Okay, so you have this higher low at this point here, suggesting that the uptrend is still very much intact. Okay, so in a way, if you see this as a basing pattern, the higher low here is a retracement, a retest towards the resistance level that price broke. So as long as it can maintain above this higher low, okay, so let me just show you the price. As long as it can maintain the higher low and the price that is being estimated by tag. So the lines that you see here are drawn by tag. So tag is an indication which I design to show support resistance and as well as to show trend, right? So as long as price is being supported by this level here, which is about 110, so what this means is that the trend is still very much intact. Okay, now any questions so far? Okay, now let me just go to the day time frame here, right? Okay, I need you to pay attention and a lot of attention to this orange line here. So this is the orange line, right? I know that this has already passed, all right? And this is really how we enter a trade, right? So what we do is that we spot for this higher high here. Okay, and then we calculate it, sort of like wait for it to move down. So we always would like to wait for a trend, or rather a change of trend to happen. So how do we know that there's a little bit of a change of trend, right? It's when price made a higher high to show strength. Okay, so what we do after that higher high is to wait for it to correct down. And when it correct down, to spot that bottom, we want to know that price has stopped moving down. Okay, now pay attention to this orange line here. So when price is above this orange line, it means that the downtrend has stopped moving down and is reversing to go up. So essentially our entry is when price close above this orange line. So orange line is automatically being drawn by tag. Now the reason why I need you to look at this is because later on I'll be showing you a stocks, right? And then it's just move above that line. Okay, all right. So this is how our first entry in Baba happened. That means above this orange line, about 91.55. Of course, that like what I said, for Baba and a lot of Chinese stocks, if you take a look at the higher time frame, spot that cup and handle pattern. Okay, that means that always look for the cup and handle pattern. You need to see cup and handle pattern, and that's a lot of them forming. Okay, they're mostly in the big names. They are mostly stocks that recently announced good earnings. Okay, spot for that cup and handle pattern or spot for that basing pattern. A lot of them has basing pattern for about 3 years, 2 years already. And then pay attention if ever you do get priced going back into the line that it broke. Meaning that if ever Baba come back down, if ever hit that support line, which is the high that it broke, now this becomes an area that you want to watch. Okay, because you are not buying at the end of an up move. Okay, so this is the end of the up move because nobody knows the end, right? But it has been moving up for quite some time already. Okay, if any purchase, you're buying at the start of a base. All right. So any questions in a general for um, uh, Hong Kong related stocks? If no, then I'll just move on. So this is the first thing that I think is hot. Okay. That means that after all this tariff, it doesn't seem Hong Kong stocks as being weak. And if you can find the basing pattern, that would be really, really fantastic. Okay, next one. I can talk about that later. All right, so let me just complete this again. All right, now this is anybody shop in Shopee? Shopee, you do, right? Okay, so see, what I always like to do is I don't like to buy when price is extended up into a trend. Okay, that means that, see, we know, for example, it's good to buy here, right? But it's only good to buy here if you see here. Okay, so that's it's like where you have the hindsight, right? Now, a lot of time we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so one way to ensure that you do get quite a good buy point is to buy after you have finished basing. Okay, so this is one of the base here. If finish is basing, you probably buy around here so that if it's going to go up, at least you are not buying when it's towards the near end of a trend. So a lot of retailer, when they buy, right, is where they got excited. Okay, why is it they got excited? For example, they initially wanted to buy when price was 250, right, but they didn't get it because they were a little bit too stingy. But when price moved to 350, they were very excited because then they're afraid that if they don't buy at 350, it might go to 500, especially when you have a lot of analysts talking about the stock is doing very well. It might just hit another $1,000, blah, 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 blah. All right. Now, what I always like to do is I always like to buy after it based. Or, if it's an uptrend, I wait for it to base. So, the basing, it's a way to get rid of weak buyers or weak seller. All right. And also for strong buyers to start to accumulate. Okay. So this is the benefit of basing. Okay. Now let's take a look at this one here, right? The stock, if I just switch that into a week chart. So this is the parent company of Shopee. Okay. Now, so what we do is we have quite a lot of ways to help to identify. All right. Now, if you take a look at the two red line here, so these are essentially resistance on the higher time frame. Okay. It means that if price starts to base, you want to know when it will exit its base. That means it will stop basing. All right, because you don't want to buy into where it's basing, because where it's basing, then it's where you keep holding and then you don't see price going higher. So you just keep on hanging and hanging and hanging where other stocks are making new highs. Your stocks is like in a very boring sideways movement. So what you want is to buy when it starts to get out of the base. Okay, so how do you know that it has gone out of the base? What I've designed as tagline. So what tag did is to calculate into this downtrend here. Okay, so this is essentially a downtrend. So price move low, and then this is a little bit of a lower low. All right, and then price goes a little bit of a flat, right? So what tag did, right, is to calculate the end of the base. Okay, that means that if this is basing, so what is the end? Okay, so you see that whenever stocks moved up, it do share similarity. Like for example, here was be a base, and then here was a little bit of that handle pattern. Okay, so this is the handle. So probably this is a double cup. Okay, C1 here and then C2 here. More like a big cup here and a small handle, and then it broke, right? So if you look at the red line here, so this is the point where it starts to break out, and then the buy point for us on SE, which is C. All right, so the buy point for C was about $90. About this price here, that's about 88 something, $90. Okay. Now, so when C starts to move into an uptrend situation, higher low, all right, and a higher high, right? So that's where we predicted that it might get supported. So in any case, that if it should move down, if C should retrace, so our tech system predict that it should retrace to 123.3. So that is our prediction here. Okay. Now, why am I bringing this and thinking that it might be exciting? If you do know that C earnings is very good, I mean, if you take a look at probably what Trump is doing and the trade war, um, if the whole idea is that if price of the Chinese company doesn't move down, all right, it means that it's probably has quite a lot of buying interests from I don't know who. Okay. If you look at what the market is probably directing and also the movement of the US dollar, if you were to buy the US stocks, you might not be making that much because what Trump wanted to do is to make the US dollar weaker. So we do track the DXY, which is the dollar index, and you realize that DXY is right now parking itself around 100. We've been talking about DXY and then we were bearish about DXY since when it was about 105 already. Okay, there are talk that DXY might move to the high 80, which means that the US dollar will start to fall, right? So if you do own US stocks, you might not make that much because then you might suffer FX losses. Okay, so with this, I think that if I want to talk about what's hot, what's important in the market, you might want to further take a look into where there's businesses in the Asia region. Okay, meaning that probably to look at maybe US growth as not that high, but to look at the US itself. Okay, now the reason why I want to show C is that again I asked you to focus on the orange line, right? Okay, so C is an uptrend, okay, in the day chart, and it has just gone above the orange line. Although today the pre-market is going to open higher, but it has gone above the orange line at 127. So this means that from tech point of view, this consolidation had already been broken. Okay, so our buy point, if you have tech, would be at 127. But all is not lost. What tech is doing is in turn, it's predicting that if price should hit down, okay, it has a support of 118. So it means that if ever C is to correct itself downwards, then you'll be aiming for two levels here. One level is 118, the other level is 127. So this is the first level. So this is the second level. And the nice thing about tech is that it's adaptive. That means that based on situation, based on the price movement, it is adaptive and it will keep calculating the best entry price. Okay. So the second hot things I'm looking at where where we look at, for example, we look at Amazon, we look at a lot of other stocks, right? A lot of them are probably have been rising for quite some time already. But C just gotten out of the base. Okay, so this is what I mean by C just gotten out of the base and it's just on its trending mode, and we have predicted the entry level at around this zone here for a re-entry here. Okay, all right. Now, again, focus a little bit on the yellow orange line here. So let me just show you. Anybody doing BTC? Okay. Again, our method is to look at the long-term trend. Not really too long. We are really trading, but to take a look at trending trades. Like for example, this is moving higher, so this is a higher high. So that got our interest. In fact, that when if you have been with me in my classes, you will know that we had a buy signal of BTC around 66. So our first buy signal of BTC after this consolidation is 66, right? Because the tag is so good, right, to tell you the end of a consolidation. That means we are not buying just on any movement, but we are buying when it has totally completed its end of the consolidation, which is what people are looking at. We are buying at the point before it's going to explode upwards. Okay, so that's what tech is good about, right? So again, that when price is here, last November, December, which I told the community that I already sold out my BTC trade and I was waiting for price to move down, right? So what tech did was to gave the buy entry at about 86 600, but because this is the price where price totally closed above the two orange line. So again, I need you to focus on the two orange line, right? So what two orange lines are doing is to tell us that this is a downward movement, and then if price is above it, so this is going to be the end of this downward movement. That means the downward movement is no longer true, then this would be our buy point. So our buy point for BTC was around 87,000, and right now it's trading about 104. So how many of my students actually got in BTC and still holding? So who got in BTC? Nobody? Ah, okay, that's good. Serena, Jeannie, good. All of you got in. All right. And then who is still holding on? Ah, so good. Okay, me too. Me too, right? Okay. So what tech will do is of course that we have to go to the lower time frame. All right. We can go to the lower time frame and then we do see, for example, this was the recent support, right? So this was the recent support that's being given. So it was able to predict that this was a support. Let me just demonstrate a little bit to you, right? Again, as I said, we are only interested in the larger movement here. So even when it was here, so just to okay, I'll answer your question later on. Okay, you see that when it was here, Tech was able to predict that this was that support level. So we have two levels here, right? Okay, so this is the lowest optimal level at 101,215. So this was the level that Tech predicted, along with this uptrend. Okay, so of course that we know that the trend is up. Okay, the trend is up, but then you don't want to buy anywhere. You want to buy at the place where it is optimal. That means you buy already, it can just go up, something like that. So that is our prediction here. Very good. Engine is still holding on BTC, same as me. All right. So let me just play a little bit. You realize that when it hit here, it's nicely hit into that support area. And you see this orange line here? So this is the orange line, right? So every time you want to buy, you wait for price to close above the orange line, okay? Even though it's a resistance level, but then you wait for price to close above the orange line. That becomes a buy point. You see that? So it's close above it. It tests back to the orange line, and then it's right now hovering higher and back again to this orange line again, right? Okay. So this is how we traded the BTC. Okay. So what I am thinking of BTC is that again, this is a massive 3 months pattern, or rather maybe 5 months pattern here, right? Okay. So as long as BTC can, close again this region here, all right, then I think that it's probably have a chance to its one. What was my predicted price level? Is it 130 or 120? I can't remember already. I think I've told you guys it's the 130 and then how 130 was being calculated. Okay. So do remember the pattern consistently. It's always where we have an up, there's always a correction. We want to know the end of the correction and then we buy before it's going to explode upwards. And that's given by the orange line. Okay. So let me just quickly cover what I have in mind to discuss today. And then I answer your questions, which is Xpeng, Xiaomi, and Let me want UNH. Okay. Okay. Now, the one that I would like to share with you, it's anybody paying attention to Tesla? Yes, right. Now I'm giving you the price feed of the CFDs provider, which is 8cap. 8cap is sponsoring for today's event. In fact, I work with 8cap for about a year plus already, and they're always telling me, "Hey, Binni, can you please do some sessions so we can educate our customers, not only 8cap customers, but also anyone else who is interested in trading. Of course, then ACAP would be interested for you guys to trade with them, but then they are very interested to grow their customers to educate. So this is the reason why I'm holding all these sessions, under the sponsor of ACAP. So if you're interested, then you can explore to trade with ACAP. Now, anybody traded with CFDs before, contract for difference? So instead of buying stocks, which probably you need like Tesla, if you are buying at $300, you need like 30,000 to buy 100 shares. Okay, so instead of let me just show you. So instead of buying into um, the uh, stocks itself, then we can trade into CFDs for short term. Okay, so here I did a video on CFDs charges in Singapore. For 8cap is charging US $2 per shares. Okay, what is the meaning of US $2 per share, right? So they calculate if you buy one share, then you'll be charged 0.02, which is 2 cents. Okay, so they don't have a minimum charge. So if you're interested to buy only 10 shares, so for example, you buy Tesla 10 shares, you'll be charged 40 cents, 0.4, okay, for your total transaction. Unlike a lot of brokers here, they have a minimum charge, okay, per site. Minimum charge per site means that, for example, some broker will say that if you, let's say, buy, okay, regardless of the number of shares, the minimum starting price is $10 for the commission for the charges, okay. But ACAP doesn't. It's just based on the number of shares, okay. So you can start small, right? So a lot of people in my community, yes, they have been instead of buying the stocks, they have been trading into the CFDs. Okay, now what I need you to do is take a look at the Tesla. Okay, tell me what color lines do you see? Do you see orange line? Yes or no? Do you see orange line? Yes, right? Okay. Now, what is orange line? Orange line is essentially a resistance line. Okay. So what tech did is to calculate like that, right? So that means that this is the downward movement for Tesla. Okay. Now let me just show you the overall movement of Tesla. And this is a not a stock feed, okay, but this is a market make feed. But it's very, very close to the actual stock price. And for one of the questions about the spread for 8cap, it's actually very competitive. So for the stocks, right, the minimum, and which I monitor, for example, for Tesla, the minimum or the maximum spread it's near to, it's about 10 cents, 0.1. Okay, so it's actually very, very competitive. So they have very competitive spreads and as well as very competitive commission. And you can start with one shares. Okay, so you don't need to pay a minimum charges. All right. So a lot of students actually trade into the CFDs in and out, and they do have a lot of CFDs. Okay, really, really a lot of offerings. In fact, that majority of the US they do have that. Those very, very liquid trading stocks. All right, so let's take a look at here. Okay, so this is the weekly chart here. As I explained, we are looking for stocks that make a higher high. Okay, higher high here. So this one is a higher high. Do you agree with me? So this is higher high, right? Okay. Then here we are looking for stocks that makes a higher low. Okay. So we had a prediction of tech, right? Where the resistance level, okay, became a support level. Okay, resistance level became a support level here, right? All right, very good. Uh, then if price goes up, all right, if price goes up, this means that the higher low is true here. Okay, so I will assume that it's a higher low because then this one is higher than this. So we do have an uptrend still maintained for Tesla. Okay. Now, some of you might say, hey, look, what's the big deal, right? Tesla is a growth stocks, a good stocks, right? But it makes a huge difference if you buy Tesla at $400 versus if you buy Tesla here at $300. Do you agree with this statement? The finance charge for 8 cap is very competitive. They only charge every 3 days, if I don't remember wrongly. And then it's about similar to the Singapore brokers. Yeah, similar or slightly lower. Okay, it's very competitive. All right. So there's a difference if you buy a 400 versus 300. Am I right? So, okay. Then do you prefer to buy a 300 or do you prefer to buy a 400? Am I asking a stupid question? No, right? I think that you do understand what I'm trying to get to you, okay? You do prefer to buy at $300, okay? So in this case here, what basically I waited for price to be out of this downtrend, okay? How do I know that price is out of this downtrend? When price it's went above the orange line, okay? So for us, let me just let you know, like for example, if price is below this resistance line, I will assume that it is a downward movement because it's being resisted. Okay, but then after that price hover here, which of course I did, I shorted, but because I know that when price can close above the orange zone here, it means that my sell, which is my short, is wrong. So I was able to quickly get out of my trade with the help of the orange line and then turn the trade around to you know, turn it into a long. That means to buy. Okay, recover back my losses and then turn it into a buy. All right. So just to share with you what I think is hot, all right, is that at this moment, Tesla, okay, has just gone above the orange line. Okay. Now, so you say, Binni, why don't you just share your why don't you just do the trade earlier or share with us earlier? I already done so to my own community. It's just that I've scheduled on the 14th. I wish that I can schedule the session, let's say last Friday or maybe on Monday, so that the instant when it's above, then you get to know about it. Okay, but not to worry. What tech is doing here is also countering to say that, okay, fine, right? You missed the trade to go long at 270. So this was 270, rather 288, right? Then what would be the optimal price of a support level? So what tech did was to plot in this level here, which is about 260, to say that if price should come down, so the 260, the blue line, is the optimal level for re-entry. Okay, all right. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that has Tesla gone out of this um, how to say downward movement? Yes, according to tech. All right, but it doesn't mean that you don't have opportunity because later on at 8:30, me and Pauline will be going through what we think about the Nasdaq overall. So remember to stay tuned. Don't go. We have to wait for 8:30 for Pauline to come in. Okay. Now I know that you have a few questions for me. One will be Go, one will be Xpeng, Xiaomi, and uh UNH. Okay, so let me just go through gold, which is our favorite trading instrument. Okay, so that's our favorite trading instrument here. All right, now same thing for gold. If you take a look at this one here, do you see the famous, popular, very loved orange line? What this means is that gold had this consolidation, right? Don't flattish, and tech gave us a buy signal, all right, on this time frame, which is the day time frame, to say that it is out of this consolidation when price went to 2724. Okay, 2725 was our buy price at that point of time. Okay, now question, at this moment, right now, Do you see any orange line? Yes or no? I mean, this is live, so this is what I am seeing at this moment, like what you are doing, what you're seeing here. Do you see any orange line? Yes or no? Answer is no, right? Okay. So we do not have any buy signal here. In fact, that uh our two predicted price of gold, okay, so based on the high time frame, two predicted price of gold is at first this level, which is about 3230. So this one here. Okay. This one here, but it seems that it is actually going lower. Okay, because we don't only predict the price, we also want to make sure that the lower time frame has an entry. So for example, if we take a look at the day time frame, so we always go to the lower time frame like the 4 hour or 1 hour time frame to spot for a buy. Okay, like for example, right? So for example, if the week has a price level, which is this one here, right? We can't be just buying like this. Okay, it's dangerous. So what we do is we always go to the lower time frame to find a buy entry. So I will talk about this more on the 22nd of May session. All right. Now, so our two levels of prediction for gold is this one here and this one here, which is around 30, not 30,000, $3,050. Okay, so 3050 is the predicted level. Okay, and as well as this one here, right? Now, so in a day, we don't really have any, and I'm expecting a little bit more of a extended correction for gold. In fact, that this afternoon, I was doing my sessions with my community. We were just talking about gold and the thoughts, or rather the direction for gold is that it's being resisted by the orange line. You see that this orange line is wonderful, right? Why is that so? Because we will only be buying when it's above, right? But let me ask you, right now, is the price of gold above or below? It's actually below, right? Okay. And that the orange line just nicely predicted the high price of gold. Okay. Why do I say that? If I just roll back a little bit more, right? Like this. Okay. Before gold, when gold moved down, okay, we were already predicting that the resistance of for gold, right, based on tech is 3262 and 3280. These two levels only. No in between, just these two levels. Okay. You look at how price moved, okay? So it went to 3262, you see that? Hit nicely and then moved back down. So in fact, that a lot of students today told me that they shorted gold at the high point. All right. So one of the question is that, may I ask if you do day trading? Yes. So this was the one of the day trading in gold, right? So we were able to short at the very high price, which was 3262, right? And it depends on how long you want to hold it. Some people don't mind holding it a little bit longer to become swing trading. So if you short at 3282, right now it's 3213, or some might just short at 3282 and then exit at the next bar, which is about 32. So it's 3262 short, 3262, and exit the next bar, which is 3230. Okay, it really depends on how long you want to hold, right? But essentially, gold, according to our shorter term trading, it's being resisted right now, and I'm probably expecting it to break lower. Okay, so in other words, if you look at gold, right, gold is being used as a hedge instrument when the risk is perceived as high. That means that the market is looking at gold as a safety net. Okay, but right now it seems that the market is a little bit happy with the development. I would think that it's a little bit more complacent. Okay, so gold is right now being sold down. Okay. The other way to understand that is that it has to come down in order for us to buy again at a lower price. So if it doesn't come down, how to buy at a lower price, isn't it? Okay. So I'm expecting that gold probably will have a little bit of correction, and that surprisingly, that means that we might be surprised that actually the Hong Kong market it's quite strong. So look out for stocks that show the basing pattern. All right. Okay. Okay. So let me just go through my stock list, and then you ask me about Xpeng. So, have you seen my posting on Xpeng? I think that on the um start of New Year, around Chinese New Year, right? I went to the showroom and I was posing and then saying that the wind is blowing to EV. Okay, so Xpeng was at that point of time around here about $52 plus minus. It's the same way as I traded, right? Price makes a bit of, the higher high, and then it has a consolidation. I look for the yellow line, and boom, off it goes. Okay. All right. So this is how I traded. I basically look for the orange line, not the yellow line. If you want me to demonstrate a little bit, I think it should be around here. Okay. Here we go. So that's the orange line here for Xpeng. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about Xpeng right now. What color lines do you see here? Let me just go through. Okay. Okay. So under the 4 hour, what color line do you see here? We have the orange line, right? So that is the short-term resistance, okay? So this short-term resistance coming from the lower time frame, but essentially it means that this consolidation is coming to an end if price can close above what color line? Yes, exactly, right? And if you take a look at this pattern here, so this pattern is resembling, it fit our analysis, right? Price goes up, it comes down, and more important, all right, price has made a higher high, it has made the higher low. So it's still an uptrend, right? But most important is that this is a consolidation pattern, and this consolidation pattern is showing a cup and handle pattern. Okay, so how do you know that? Traditionally we would be saying that the cup and handle pattern confirmation is when price can close above the neckline, but this is not what tech is all about. Tech would help to detect the trend. Okay, and then nicely we are waiting for price to close above $82 here. So what I can say is that wait for one fine day, all right, for price to close above 82. This means that this downward movement has already reversed and probably to be going up. And of course, then we do have earnings coming up. Okay. Now, quickly on Xiaomi, I know that you're interested in Xiaomi. If you look at my video on Xiaomi was here. How many of you followed my YouTube videos and then was looking at Xiaomi when it was about $17? So my RM called me recently and then was telling about Xiaomi, etc. Right? Then I said, yeah, I bought Xiaomi at 17. Then she said, yeah, why you didn't tell me? I said, yeah, shouldn't you be telling me? Something like that. Yeah. So, uh, again, Xiaomi, our previous entry based on the orange line was about 17 here. So this was the price 16.75. And right now, we are not seeing the basing pattern yet. That means that it doesn't meet my criteria. Okay, I need to see that basing pattern. I need to know that price has already gone out of the base. Okay, but if you are looking at a short term, that means a shorter term price movement, then yes, Xiaomi it's still in its uptrend. Okay, that means that it is probably looking a little bit like a flag pattern. Okay, but it's this flag pattern is a little bit small to me. Okay, not that strong long term type of basing pattern that I gets very very excited. So unfortunately, Xiaomi doesn't meet that criteria. Okay, and lastly, what was that code that you wanted me to do? UNH. So my sisters actually messaged me yesterday and was saying that everything in US is very expensive. There's really nothing much that they can do in terms of tests, right? Without insurance. So, at our age, we were looking at doing, screening, scanning So I told her you should be doing your mammogram, you should be doing your ultrasound. Then she said that yes, she did her mammogram, and then the doctor said, I recommend you to do MRI. You know, it's a bit reluctant to do MRI because of the price. I say it's not only about the price, but it's actually very invasive, right? But she was just telling me that without insurance, everything is so expensive. And then, well, anyway, if you take a look at UNH, I don't want to give any comment, but then what uh tech is showing here is based on the weekly chart, as showing a series of red lines. We hardly see that. Okay, we only see that when price is in a very strong downtrend. Okay, it means that price had broken out of a huge consolidation pattern like this and has resulted in this very strong resistance level. So this is a resistance level that's based on a week, and this is based on the 4 weeks. That means it's actually a month. Okay, in other words, right, a price is to go up, it'll be faced with tons and tons of resistance level. Okay, and um, yeah, so this is what I can say about United Health. Okay, all right. Okay. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a little bit of a commercial break. Okay, it's okay. I wait to commercial break, and after that, I come back in 8:30 to invite Pauline to join us in Zoom, where we'll be doing a combined access time. Access time is our name, all right, where we are doing a hand holding. Okay, so let's go for commercial break. Now, this is my style, us. Okay. What I like to do is again back into the legacy idea. Okay. I hope that by sharing what I've observed, it is going to be beneficial to you. Okay. But there is a limited extent of what I could share in limited time. So I prefer to do it where I can tell my students how and what I'm looking at, and then via a course. So one thing I like to do in my course is extensive coaching, and second, I managed to get a free course fee fully refunded deal for you guys. Okay, now so your journey with us, we have 2 courses. Today, when you are looking at tech, it's being offered in Top Pro. Okay. And then we have very extensive support, right? So we have 7 sessions a week, and as well as the tech that you see are all provided as part of the course. That means that if you get the course, you get the tools that we are using. All right. So what is our extensive training schedule? We have access time, which is the hand holding. That's Monday 4:30, Tuesday 12:30, Wednesday 8:30, which is right now today Wednesday 8:30, right? And Thursday 4:30. And then we have the alien room, which is another support program, and that's 9 p.m. on Tuesday and Thursday. And this afternoon, I just interacted with my top pro students who are using tech at 12:30. So you see that one week we have 7 support session for all of you. Okay, what are these support session doing? We are guiding you on what to trade, what to look out for. So for example, when we have the Trump uh, saying that he's going to have what trades are we interested today, Pauline?
Maybe we can have a look at NASDAQ.
Okay, Nasdaq. Let me know if you do want to share your screen. Yeah,
Mm,
Nasdaq is also one that I'm interested to have a look.
mm,
Maybe that you share your screen because I think
sure.
that you can share already. Yeah.
Okay, let me give it a try.
Let me just stop sharing.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so typically what we do in SS time for some of the slots is to talk about trade ideas. And what we like to do is to talk about these trade ideas ahead of the movement. And that's what typically access time is meant to do. But a lot more than that, access time is also meant to give all of us a platform and a space, not just to look at trades, but also do a little bit of mindset training, even looking at psychology and trade management. So I think for those of you guys who have been with us for a while, If you agree that, in SS time, you really get to learn a lot more things than just the strategy itself, can you just type one in the chat to just let everybody know and that you have been receiving a lot of value thus far since day one that you joined? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Yeah, so essentially what we want to do is to continue to cultivate a community where we come to learn together on many, many different levels. So today, as we talk about NASDAQ itself, right, I'm going to share with you a bit of my views about where I think the market will likely go and what we are going to look out for. Okay, now if you have a look at the daily chart of NASDAQ, okay, and you have let's say you were to focus on the recent price action over here. Let me see if I can just pull out the drawing tool and circle it for you. Are you able to see this? If you can you just share with me, right? By looking at the current movement recently, do you find that NASDAQ is very, very bullish? Do you find that NASDAQ is very, very bullish? Okay, so let's just do a poll lah. Okay, so how many people are very, very bullish, thinking that NASDAQ is very likely going to continue to break new highs, just going to go up and up and up? Or how many of y'all are bearish about it? Or how many of y'all don't know where it's going to hit? Yeah, any views? Anybody wants to share? Okay, yes. So bullish view, right? Okay. Yes, I think it's very normal that people are definitely thinking about the bullish view here. Okay, so that is when we want to look at the technical setup together with the methodology and have a look at whether could there be a contrarian view at this price level. And if there is, then what is the subsequent price action we need to see? And therefore the subsequent action that we need to take when it comes to trading. Okay, now if you have a look at the daily chart, so now I'm going to erase this, okay, and go for the bank time. Okay, go further back in time, right? Okay. So just now Binni was sharing this very simple concept of a higher high, right? Okay, so for example, if I could guide you to look at the price action, you could see this is a high, okay, and this is a higher high. Okay, agree with me on this formation where you see there's a high and a higher high, and you continue to be bullish about NASDAQ in general because of this higher high. Okay. Now, if you agree, do you also agree that recently we saw a low here? And what did market do over here? What did market do over here? We start to see a lower low. Okay, we start to see a lower low. Now, then this is where it becomes interesting. Okay, because a lot of people have been talking about this bullishness in the market and to see whether or not this bullishness will eventually lead us to the next higher high, or could there be a possibility that there could be a temporary downward momentum? That means could there be a chance that price will come down?
Actually,
Okay.
Pauline, just now in the afternoon when we were having the
Yes.
discussion, right? I
Yeah.
was just saying that my prediction is that Nasdaq could be correcting at this level already.
Mm,
I know
correct,
why
correct.
you are going to, yeah.
Yeah, correct. So there could be a situation, right, that if what Binny and I think is going to come through, right, then there could be a lower high at this particular turning point. And I think this is a very interesting level to look at, right? Primarily because if you have a look at these very fierce downward movement, right, then what essentially price did over here was to do a retracement. Okay, so if I could just, for example, pull out the Fibonacci retracement, right, and just show you the levels. Okay, so from the top over here, let's say you plot to the bottom. So where we are right now, right, is essentially at the 78% retracement level, which means to say if the bears are going to have a goal to push, let's say, price back down, right, then this is probably one of the better places that we are going to look at. So there could be some bearish momentum that could be coming in for the US indices. So today we are just looking at NASDAQ as an example. But essentially what happens is in our methodology, we will be looking for a signal. So essentially what must happen is that price has to be able to wash below what we call this green color wash line over here. the price level is around 20,900. If price should be able to close back down, and then we probably could see price moving down a lot more. And if you can close below this previous high over here, let me just plot that out for you here. Yeah, then we are going to see a lot more downward momentum for Nasdaq. So all in all, right, what we are trying to prep you guys is, should you eventually see the signs, and then you probably may guesstimate that there could be a chance, right, that this Nasdaq could just go down and try to perhaps sweep this lower before it's going to go on its recovery, something like this. Yeah, so this is the view that I have currently with Nasdaq. But what is very, very important in terms of the methodology is that we need to see price being able to close below 20,914 for now.
And this is the concept of wash and rinse, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So I think one of the method that we're using apart from tech is the concept of wash and rinse.
Mm,
Maybe I'll just explain a little bit about the idea of wash and rinse, okay? Because a lot of people were thinking that it was very bullish with the tariff, so they bought ahead, right? But for those people who bought, let's say, above 20,000, if they see that price is to close back below 20,000, this group of people would be really very sad. So when this happened, then this is what we term as a wash and rinse.
mm,
Of course, that maybe that we can check the weekly chart and get the wash and rinse level. So we do have different time frame to show different perspective of the people. So what Pauline did with the green line is a wash and rinse on the day chart. But if you go to the weekly chart, so Pauline just did a wash and rinse on the weekly level. So this coincide with a historical level, but this coincide with also what we need to see is that if Nasdaq is below first level 20,900, that becomes the first wash and rinse. And if Nasdaq is below 20,000, uh essentially 20,000 round number, right, that becomes
mm.
a weekly wash and rinse. I think that would a little bit conclude that price is bearish. In fact, that guys, I don't know whether you remember, I point out the wash and rinse where before Nasdaq dropped from 22,000. Maybe Pauline, you know where is it? The wash and rinse on the weekly level. Yeah, I think you got it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So this was the wash and rinse there. So a lot of people didn't believe that Nasdaq is going to drop, but we do have that wash and rinse candle there. All right. Yeah. So I think I can annotate. Yeah. So the wash and rinse is somewhere around here. This one here. Yeah. So that's the wash and rinse, and then after that it's just tumble. Yeah. Mm.
That's right.
Yeah, so I do agree that Nasdaq is how to say, is bullish in nature, but the buy, as I mentioned earlier, our buy was around this level 18,000. Uh, yeah, this was the buy level. There was a cluster of orange line. Maybe with do you want to put in tag? I know that there was a
Sure.
cluster of a bullish line here. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just go to the day time frame. Yeah,
Yes, so that was
the
our bullish level around here. This one here. Yeah,
yeah.
correct. Yeah. Okay. So that's a good one. I really think that tech is coming down. Anybody interested in Hong Kong 50? Pauline, are you interested in Hong Kong 50?
Yes, definitely. Let me just go to the Hong Kong 50 chart for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
let
then
me
we
just
can
remove.
just remove this one. And
Okay.
then we can switch back to clean
Okay.
template. Yeah. Yep. How many of you are still very bullish on Hang Seng? Yeah, I do agree that Hong Kong 50 seems a little bit more bullish, isn't it? What do you think, Pauline? Hong Kong 50 in your views?
Yes, I also think that Hong Kong 50 is bullish. Um, as much as this Nasdaq has been showing a lower low on the day chart, right? You see that this low here, this yellow box that are drawing for a long time, right? We haven't seen a lower low in a very long time. This was since November 2024. Since then, price has been nicely supported. Every time it hits the 18,900 dollars price zone. Yeah, so I hope that it can retrace more for me to do a buy. Yeah, so essentially, when I look at the prices now, right, I do see that price is near a certain level of resistance like this. So let's say if this is 10 and this is 1, right, this is nearer to 10. So if price could actually come back down a little bit more or even best come to this zone, these are probably good places for us to consider to go long on Hong Kong 50.
Mm, yeah. In fact, just now I discussed about Baba, which
Mm,
is showing that basing pattern.
yep,
So even if you take a look at Hong Kong 50, right, on the weekly or the monthly chart, it is
yes,
again showing that same basing pattern.
yep,
Yeah.
mm,
Yes, this is exactly what I mean by that. Yeah,
yep, right.
correct. Mm,
Yes.
yeah. And how about you guys? Any other trades that you guys are interested to do? Interested to look at? Or interested in China stocks, Chinese stocks? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let me just get my screen and probably just
Sure.
take over from just hang on for a while.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we do the JD.com. JD.com is something that I'm interested as well. So let me just go through in terms of the Hong Kong price fit. Okay. Yes, I discussed quite a lot on Hong Kong stocks. Um but okay, you see, what happened to JD is that it's recently announced that it's going to increase about 100,000 um riders, and this caused JD and Meituan to drop, both of them to drop. By right, it should be a piece of good news, okay? Because then you expand. But the problem is that JD profitability is so uh little, okay? It's really not that profitable, right? Have anybody ordered Meituan before in China? Or they have also Ele.me, these two platforms. I just was in Shanghai and I tried the Meituan. It's amazing, right? I spent about 20 minutes to figure out how to order. And by the time the end of 20 minutes when I click the button, all right, then 15 minutes later, or maybe 10 minutes later, the food here already. So I spent more time in figuring out how to order than more time in the food being prepared. Yeah, so I really am amazed of how they prepare the food and then how the riders, send the food very, very fast. Okay, very, very efficient. All right, and really very, very competitive. So I can understand why when JD announced that 100,000 riders, right, then Meituan was also affected. Okay, now take a look at JD chart here. This is JD chart, and take a look at Tencent chart. Okay. All right. So do you see the difference here between a JD chart? So let me just go through again. This is a JD chart. All right. And then this is a Tencent chart. Do you see what's the difference here? Okay. Now, JD in a weekly chart, it's still making a, let's say this is a high, right? And then this is the high. This is a still a lower high, right? And then this is still a lower high. Okay. Now, although yes, in the nearer term, JD is making a higher high, higher low here. This is a low point. So this is a higher low. And then this one here is starting to show the reversal. Okay. But it is essentially long term still a downtrend. All right. I'm not sure whether Pauline agree, but Pauline, do you see the same thing as myself?
Yes.
Yeah. But when you look at Tencent, okay, it gets a little bit different, right? So yes, Tencent, if you compare this to here, it is still making a lower high as versus the previous high. All right. But if you take a look at the period, right, Tencent has been making this upward movement versus where JD is still trapped, okay, downwards in a downtrend. Tencent is making a higher high versus the previous high and a higher low. Okay. Now, usually what I like to do, right, when I look at the strength of the stocks, I compare that to the index. So let's say this is the Hong Kong Tech, right, which is the Hong Kong Tech Index, right? You see that the HS Tech has also made a higher high versus the few previous high. Okay, so itself, the Hong Kong Tech, it's going up, right? But you don't see that in a JD. Okay, essentially JD and Meituan, these two, right? They are considered laggards. Okay, Meituan is slightly in a better position. If I were to look at it, right, Meituan is still having a little bit of a strength to try to break above the previous high value. Although that yes, generally it's still going down, right? But Meituan is still having the strength to break that two previous high. All right, but JD somehow is just a little bit not having that strength. Okay, you can say that maybe perhaps this is also an attempt to break, right? But if you compare the same period here, all right, so Meituan was here, right? Same period, right? So Meituan did try and its effort to break that. So if ignoring a fundamental, right, just by taking at the technicals, the price level, then I would prefer Meituan over JD for the fact that Meituan managed to overcome a little bit of that high that we've seen near to July 2023, but JD did not. The high of 2023 was somewhere around here for JD. Okay, all right. But if you compare these two stocks across the index, which is across the HST index, right? Then the index actually broke July 2023 high already. So these two are considered laggards. Okay, laggard means that while the overall market is bullish, investors are still not too interested in them. So fundamentally, they are weak. Okay, and these two stocks are not capable of export, meaning that if you take a look at Xiaomi, all right, what they are capable of is they're capable of to target the external market to export. But Meituan, JD essentially are still very much trapped in its localized market, which is China itself. It's very difficult to get Meituan out of China. So they don't have that capability. All right. And they are not able to expand out. And then you find that JD and Meituan, they're actually fighting and killing each other. So this is worse. All right. And this is what a lot of times, right, when you look at a Chinese product, they sell at a cheap price, 白菜价, and this is exactly what Meituan and JD is doing at this moment. Okay, so unfortunately, I am not too interested and happy with the development. Okay, so let me just go to Meituan first. All right, now if we go to the uh day chart, right? Do you see this orange line? Okay, it's 170, right? So again, Meituan priced would have to clear above 170 in order to say that this downtrend has come to an end. Okay, it is still quite some time away from that. Okay, so it's still right now it's trading about 140, so it's still away from 170. All right. If you take a look at JD, same thing. It has this reversal, this pattern here, right? But you take a look at the two orange lines. Okay, they are still far, right? And then we do have one orange lines coming near, but then we have a lot of resistance on top. So I guess that we might have to wait a little bit more. All right. Okay. Baidu is also one of the laggard. Definitely Baidu is one of the laggard also. All right. And then the yellow line, orange line for Baidu is this one here, which is 95. It still have some time to go, but okay, let's because what I like to do is I like to always provide a guidance to my students on how to look at prices. Okay, if you take a look at the prices here, if you switch that into a line chart, can you guys tell me whether Baidu is in an uptrend or still in a downtrend? What do you think? Maybe Pauline can give an insight on this one.
Still like in a general downtrend, but I
Yeah,
do see that price is getting supported at the green color tag line already.
this one, right?
Yeah,
But again, that what I for stocks I get a little bit more how to say picky, right? I do like to track it against the index, and because the index has already broken out to a new high. So for stocks that doesn't break a new high, you're able to pick it up at the bottom, but then I'd be very, very concerned because when the index does correct, then it will be the first one to go also. Yeah. So yes, I do see that it has a little bit of a reversal. All in all, I still like to know that price has. I still like to insist that. I mean, this is the pattern I usually do, right? So what I usually like to do is that, let's say for example, this is a price level here. I like to break, all right, to confirm that it has already broken out and let the retracement come back down. Okay. Uh, Same thing. I don't see that price is breaking out of any of these very strong key levels here. So it's still being trapped. So this is something which, in terms of my personal choice, I don't like. Yeah. So I always like to break higher and then let it come back down. Okay. So that's why, for example, if you take a look at Baba here, right? It broke that and then it's back down. Okay, so this kind of stocks has a higher power to rebound because then a lot of people get interested already. But for Baidu, this kind of stocks, right, you don't really see um that break higher upwards. Yeah, so I get a little bit concerned. Yeah. Okay, I know that you guys are interested in Hong Kong market. I didn't know that you're that interested in Hong Kong market. I thought that you're more interested in the US market. But let me just quickly talk about the Hang Seng Tech. Okay. Probably I just wanted to probably do it together with Pauline, right? To ask her what she think about the Hang Seng Tech. Do you cover Hang Seng Tech in your session, Pauline?
no, didn't.
So Hang Seng Tech isn't one of the things that you cover in your own access time.
Yeah, but I cover the Hong Kong 50 instead.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Usually what I like to do is I like to cover the tech stocks. Because personally, I'm very interested in the tech stocks, right? Yes, of course that we are bullish on Hong Kong, okay? But I just wanted to just caution a little bit, which I did in my video also, all right? So yes, like yourself, I'm more in favor of thinking that as long as this low is still intact, right, and it's not broken, it is well supported. Okay, but just to do a quick analysis, all right, if you see this as 10, which Pauline asked just now, and then if this is 1, can I know where this price is around?
7.
Yeah, I would think 7. How about the rest of you? Do you agree that 7? So what we usually do is we use this to guide our students, okay? And then if it's at 7, that means that if you are going to buy here, you'll be probably buying near the high. Okay, so our way of doing is always to let it come back down. Okay, all right, and naturally coming back down, the orange line would be a place for us to take note of. All right, now of course that the other way to look at it is that take a look at this blue line here. Now, what this blue line says is that previously price has been moving in an uptrend movement like that. Okay, so this was what price has been doing, like uptrend movement. Okay, now, because of the tariff issue, price has actually moved lower below the blue line. Okay, so the blue line was a support level, so this was a support level, right? But the blue line instead, when it break below, became a resistance level. Okay, it became a resistance level already. Now, in other words, right, if Hang Seng Tech is struggling or rather not able to close above this level here, okay, let me just get you the exact price of this level, right? It's about 5,550. So this is that level that's been predicted. And you can see that price really respected the predicted level very well because this was the high price and then it's just like maybe a few points below the prediction, right? So in other words, Hang Seng Tech is right now at the resistance. Okay, despite all the very good news, Hang Seng Tech isn't able to make new high. That means that the candles are all staying within the high point that was being created on a Monday. All right. That means it's not able to make a new high, right? So watch for the consolidation around here. That means that watch for consolidation around here. If price consolidate, and then if price doesn't manage to break new high, that means that there may be a chance that it's going to retrace. Okay, and retracement is something that we are really good at. So we watch for the retracement, and then we will catch it back at the low here. Any thoughts on a possible support level, Pauline? What do you think?
Yeah, I think if I could just make it a round number, I would just look at 4,800.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
correct.
totally agree with you that 4,800 it's probably a good level to look at because this was the high point when because of the tariff, right? When it announced, so this was the high point, right? And then priced went below it, and then when news got slightly better, price went up and starts to hover around here. So really, the critical level it's probably around here, which is around 4,800. I guess that this would be the level that a lot of people will be watching. And for those who remember, we also enter Hang Seng Tech around this level here because previously this was our entry, right? We went up, consolidated, and then that's the orange line, and we enter around here. Okay, so it's not surprising to see price back into this 4,008 again. All right. Okay. So I won't be answering all the different stocks, but I hope that by showing you how I analyze the stocks, then you can understand there are some stocks that I prefer. There are some stocks that I don't really want to take a look unless that they are better price action. Okay. All right. In fact, I pointed out one stock in my session which I highlighted that it's something that you want to take a look. Guys, can you know what stock was that? Anybody remember? Don't remember? Okay, don't remember. I talk about it on my next session, on the 22nd of May session. I think it might still be there on the 22nd of May session. Okay. All right. Any other things you want to add, Pauline? Because we had them for about 1 hour, 1.5 hour already. I don't want to hold on to them.
Yeah, I think we are going to have more of such sessions in the future. So if you haven't subscribed to Binni's channel, I think now would be a great time to give her a like, a subscribe. Maybe you can share the video to your friends. And then we hope to have more interactions with you guys in the future. Yeah.
Yeah. Any